What is going on, everyone? Welcome to episode 226 of Littleroot Lessons. The face on, actually, I'm just going to skip the me part. Who are you in the middle of my screen right here?
I'm
I
not
haven't
in the middle
seen
of
you
my
in
screen.
ages.
He's in the middle on mine. You're overruled
You're in the middle
on
of
this
mine.
one, Carl.
Whatever.
You
I'm just gonna make
Everyone-
you guys small.
Sure.
know what? That's fair.
Everyone, Carl is back for a very special episode of Littleroot Lessons. We have, this is your first time, I want to say, I think we had you
When
at
was
some
the last
point.
time you were on?
had
It
him-
was season 4, so it was last season.
Yeah, it's
So
been a
this
while.
This is the first one that I've done with you since
Way back.
yeah.
August of
Yeah.
last year.
Yeah, like August last year.
Yeah, I think we had an Angelo and Carl episode,
Yep.
and then we had a Jay and Carl episode,
Yep.
and both of those were, I want to say, during Reg D or Reg E. So it's been
a
a
minute.
long time.
It's been just a minute or two.
Yeah, and of course you are back to discuss.
We have
The-
math. That's why
yeah.
I'm here. That's the only reason why it's
He-
math.
Yep, I mean my math degree just. Nothing. Carl actually did it for us, which is great. What he's referencing is we have some massive changes to the 2025 circuit, how everything's going to work for points, for qualifying for worlds, like just how events are going to be ran, everything. So
And there's some good and bad things to talk about.
yeah. So we're just going to dive right into it. You can follow along on screen. We're going to be sharing the post from the official Pokemon website. We're just going to be going through. If you want to actually sit and read it, I do suggest doing so, especially if you, in the back of your mind, are thinking of making a Worlds push next year. So this is just the intro stuff. This is explaining that all of these changes apply to not only just VGC, but Go and TCG as well. And the first major change is that in the past, or at least for the past handful of seasons, we've used a top X points threshold as your qualifier. You hit 400 points, 500 points, whatever, you're automatically in. We are now returning, this is the first time since 2015, to a top X qualifier for Worlds. What that means is that for VGC, for Masters players in the US and Canada, Europe, Latin America, and Oceania, you have to hit in Europe and the US the top 75, top 50 for Latin America, and top 20 for Oceania in total points for your region.
Yeah. There's a reason why they didn't do top X for like over a decade, right? Like there's a reason why they went away from this. That's obviously not very good for anybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to leave the site. Like I said, I did all the math for this, and I'll throw the graphic up in post here. But so if we're going based off of last year, this current season's like standings, like there's 33-ish regionals, there's 3 ICs, 3 global challenges, and things like that. Those are the ways you're going to earn your CP in 2025. The number you're trying to hit is like 950 for comfort levels. Not be sweating it out at NAIC, hoping that so and so doesn't do well, or so and so wins, so you get the invite instead, right? But between the way your locals are working now, between the way they have the regionals broke down, there's a whole lot of math that we can get into as we get farther along into this. But up front right now, 950 is about the number you comfortably want to be sitting at for top 75.
Yeah. And we'll definitely get into like where points, the points changes and the BFL changes and everything. But one of the things you said, Carl, that's like probably the key reason why I really don't like this. You're going to be rooting for people to not do well. Yeah. And that is
that's like the antithesis of Pokemon, right? Like that's the one thing we don't want to do.
Yeah, which I mean that in and of itself sucks, right? Like
yeah. Like I mean, what you were about to like in general, like if the 3 of us were gunning for it and we're all at, like on the borderline at NAIC, I don't want to be rooting against my like. I love you
don't
guys.
want to
You
have to root against
yeah.
your friends to hope that they do bad, or in certain situations, I guess you'd be rooting for them to do well to win the whole thing because you need them to win. But 9 times out of 10, you're probably going to be needing people to lose at NAIC.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I mean, all you guys, the listeners, know very well. I have a very close community in New England. We've had a lot of New Englanders on my show, The Littleroot Record, and one of the constant points that is brought up on the show is how much everyone in the region supports each other. We've have a little over a dozen people who qualify for Worlds this year. They all work together. They all build together. They all like we're supporting each other. I think every New Englander, their crowning moment of the season outside of their own accolades was watching Zach Weed go absolutely insane in day 2 in Orlando and take Wolf Glick to game 3 and make Wolf Glick actually sweat and show emotion at a regional. Like that was a moment where we felt like everyone was a winner in that moment. And now it's, Zach got all these points, and now he just leapfrogged me, and I gotta hope he bombs the next regional.
Here's the other thing that starts to happen. It's just like we have giant team building groups. Like everybody has team building groups that you don't want to share your secrets anymore. Now, instead of, I can team build with so-and-so, and we can kind of use this tech to get to wherever. Well, now all your CP matters. You need to finish ahead of your friends. You need to finish ahead of your team building partners. You need to be the person on top to get that CP to help ensure your top 75 finish, and it's not fun. It's not a fun situation to be in.
It's a very toxic one, and I think one of the questions people are going to have is, why are they doing this? Why are they doing other stuff? Why is it just 75? And also, one of the things that we should note as well, there are other ways outside of finishing top 75 in your region for US and Canada and Europe and so on to qualify. If you win a regional or a special event, you auto qualify, and if you finish in the top 4 of any international challenge, that being EUIC, LAIC, and NAIC, you auto qualify. Anyone who earns an auto invite in that manner is removed from the top 75.
Your top X pool of wherever region you're in.
So,
for reference, there's going to be 45 if there's no repeats, there will be 45 people invited via the regional, special, and IC auto invites.
Assuming that we have the same number of events, which is another.
We're not sure yet, but they're currently on pace to match it.
Yes.
They have 12 events already announced before the first of the year. So we're currently on pace to at least match at this past regional cycle. So
yes.
Also, I believe Jay and I kind of bullied you last week about there's no way they announced stuff. There's no possible way they announced regionals before Worlds. I'm sorry.
That's fine. You know,
I will admit I was wrong.
Everyone's like, "Oh, Angela." Actually, another thing, and Carl, I'll pull this up for you to put in post. I did call top 75 plus. I wasn't 100% right. I was like 90% right. Like 3 days before this was announced, I did call that they're going to do a top 75 qualifier plus event winners. I thought it was going to be IC finalists instead of IC top 4, so
I'll take top 4s. Like,
top 4s are better than.
It's just more.
It's top 4 is better.
More people,
but like another thing where it's like, oh, Angelo just talks a lot and is never right. First of all, I do talk a lot, and second of all, I'm right more than you think I am. And like with this, I call Pelipper, and like this was another thing. Like I was right. I have the receipts. They're on my phone. Carl put them up in post. Like
maybe
sometimes I know what I'm talking about. Moving on, this is the other thing is, so throughout all of your events, there's going to be locals and of course your majors, and we're first going to look at how the locals are going to be going. And as we talked about last week, Premier Challenges and MSSs have been changed to League Cups and League Challenges.
They pretty much mirror the TCG version of each of them.
Yep. And one of the big changes points-wise... Well, first of all, one of the big changes is that your best finish limit for your locals, it used to be 6 and 6, now it's 4 and 4.
Yeah.
Another change on the point scale specifically is that your league challenges, our premier challenges, used to give 30 points to first place, 16 points to second place, and then it was like 12, 10, 8, 6, 4. Now it's only 15 points for first place, 12 points for second place, and then third and fourth get 10 points each. So not only will you have, like, so just comparing it, if you maxed out your BFL for challenges last season, it was 180 points. Now it's only going to be 60 points. So your lower level, like your lowest level tournaments, are now worth significantly less than they were last year for the locals.
That's a good thing in my opinion, because there's also the situation of we were doing top cuts in our challenge in our form of challenges. In TCG, they don't do that. There is no top cut. It is Swiss and you're done. So I feel a little bit better having less points writing on my resistance was slightly better than yours, so I'm finishing ahead of you when it's a 3-point difference rather than it being a huge gap like it was.
Yep. I agree with that as well.
So the difference between finishing top 32 and first is 11 points. Like that's fine in my opinion, especially if you're not playing top cuts, right? Like, and then the difference between 8 and first is 7. That's honestly very acceptable, especially when you start getting into number 2 through 7 is probably going to have a very similar record all the way through, depending on how many people you have. And so it's just like, well, the difference of that only being 4 points is going to make it feel a lot better not playing those top cuts for the people. Although it is kind of disheartening that it's only 4 challenges. I think you could have probably kept it at 6 with the new lowered points, and then had cups at 4, because cups are worth significantly more because they are going to be larger. They're going to actually have top cuts usually and things like that.
Also, another thing to note with challenges is that it's not like gun to your head, no top cut at all. To my understanding, just speaking with the local TOs in my area, you can opt for top cuts. It's just that a lot of times for the TCG players, I'm talking with a few of the TCG TOs that have been working with the local TOs on the VGC side to try to get them in with the leagues. A lot of times, like the TCG players, they want, especially specifically for their challenges, they want best of 1 Swiss, no top cut, because the games are generally longer than a VGC game, and there's just such a surplus of challenges that are held, because you have to remember, for a league to be able to run cups, they also have to run a challenge every month as well.
Yeah.
So you can have, assuming your local game stores will communicate with each other, you can have a situation where it's like you have 1 challenge at 11 a.m., 1 challenge at like 2 p.m., 1 challenge at 5 p.m., and if you're doing best of 1 no cut, you can hit all 3 of those challenges in a day.
Well, here's the other thing for TCG. None of their games change after the first game. The matchup is pretty much the same regardless of how many games they play in a vacuum, because there's no changing of the decks, there's no sideboarding, there's no nothing to adjust. It's just, did I get unlucky in my opening hands and in my prizing? Because that's what's going to determine if I get to do my thing or not. And that's that's the only reason why they play best of 3 is because they can get unlucky in how their draws and prizing goes.
And like, you can, I mean, as someone who, when I was playing TCG, all tournaments, even like regionals, were best of 1 Swiss. I remember my brother, he was up against a Lux Chomp deck, and he had a Tech 1/1 Donphan Prime, and it's like the other person opens just their Luxray. My brother opened Fampy, Donphan Prime. There was I think it was called like Time Space Distortion. It was a stadium that allowed you to just evolve Pokemon the same turn that they're played. In TCG, for those of you who don't know, you usually have to wait a turn to evolve your Pokemon, and this card just like said, ignore the rules. And all my brother had to do was like Fampy, Energy, Stadium, Donphan, good game, because they just opened Luxray no bench. Yeah, and then my brother walked over to my dad, and my dad's like, did you get like kicked out or something? What happened?" He's like, "No, I won."
No, it's done.
It was. He's like, it took 30 seconds, and again, that's the reason why you want to play best of 3 in TCG. But for VGC, like, we will get our best of 3. We will get cut. I will say what is nice is that maybe for VGC now, since you can opt for no cut, you can hold a challenge on a weeknight.
Yeah, that's going to be the kicker, because you don't want to do the VGC the same day you're doing your TCG, right? Space is going to be limited regardless of when you're doing them. Not all stores are like, not all stores are massive. Like, we're lucky. You could probably go to Collector's Cash in Lenexa. I've actually planned on going here in a couple weeks, probably going up to one of them and playing, and it's a massive store. They have a huge space to play in, and they can host 4 different games at the same time.
Typically, when we go, it's they have the VGC people, they have like Yu-Gi-Oh going, I think they have Pokemon TCG going as well. But I also
not all stores are that way though.
We are lucky to have that situation, right?
Yeah, like there's our local store can't do that. They could not do that. So it would likely have to be on a weeknight, and they don't want to be there all night waiting on us to finish up Top Cut or whatever. And so it would be a situation of probably more likely store discretion on how late they want to be there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I know for like New England, we've been doing just like weeknight friendlies, and now to be able to turn those into weeknight challenges, and still you start at 7, depending on the number of people. Usually 4 rounds of Swiss, you're out of there 9:30 at the latest. Like you're at least able to have that option, and that could potentially give more options for people to play.
Man, only 2.5 hours. You all play stupid fast. It takes us like 4 hours in Collector's Cash to get through the Swiss rounds.
Yeah,
we have
an all day ordeal.
Yeah, if you go, when we went to play, it's an all day thing. Like you're there from lunchtime to about 5 o'clock in the afternoon, depending on how long it takes to get through Top Cut.
Oh no, we just bully anyone who plays stall. Big stall does not exist in the great states that make up New England. Moving on to the other local, we have cups. Cups it's about the same as it was for the MSSs, with the 50 points for first, 40 for second, or 40 for second. Moving down, 25, which is the same as it was for top 8. So overall, cups just are the same. I think in general for your locals, the big difference is your maximum points. If you max out everything for locals, in the past, like this past season, it would have been 480 points, which is pretty much almost your entire invite, and now it's only going to be 260 if you max out your BFL.
It's 120 less.
Yeah, which is still 220 less.
220 less, yeah.
Yeah,
but
which is still
everyone's 220 less. It's not like only a select people are. Everybody's essentially 220 less. Which my advice is start early. The season starts tomorrow. The day this goes up, the season starts.
Yep.
And so you can start playing your events. The more events you get out of the way now, if you're like aiming for like a travel award or something before LAIC, if you can get ahead of them now, and then you can stay on top of the regionals and stay on top of that board, you're going to end up having an easier time getting that travel award to LAIC.
Now, the other change is for global challenges, which global challenges are the global on-cart best-of-1 ladder tournaments. It is notable that the best of finish limit is 3, which is the same as last year. However, we only were given 3 global challenges the last 2 seasons. It sounds like we're going to be getting more than 3, which I think is a really good thing. While global challenges are, in general, very different from the way that we play VGC in in-person tournaments, open team sheet best of 3 compared to closed team sheet best of 1 ladder. It still is especially with the new points alignment for the GCs, it's a good way to snag some points. I know in the past that 513 to 1024 mark used to only net you 5 points. Now it adds 20. The winner, I believe, in the past was only 100-ish. Now that is up to 170
I actually just had that
points.
one up. let me.
Yeah, if you want to, I know that it was for 513 to 10 for 1024. It was only 5 points. So to see that quadruple, like that is a welcome change. It does make the GC a little more worth it in that sense, even because like in I mean, if more people are playing, it might be difficult. But in the grand scheme of things, if you can get your rating to like 1620 to 1650 ish, that usually like locks in points for you for your region.
So what they did is they kind of spread it out a little bit more evenly. So winner last in the global challenges for 2024 was 160. Now it's 170. Runner up was 130. Now it's 160. And so then third and fourth are 150 versus what the previous 100. Fifth to eighth is 140 instead of 80. So as you go down the list, it gets the gap gets really really wide up to about top 32. And then 33rd to 64th is double from last year. Same with 65 to 128th, 129th to 256th, so on and so forth down the line. Across the board, it's gone up significantly for everyone outside of like the winner and second place.
Yeah,
which is fine. That's 100% fine. That's a good change. This is a good thing.
Because I mean, these things have how many people playing in them?
Thousands.
Exactly.
Yeah. Do note that points are the points are only awarded to TPCI regions. That's North America, EU, Latin America, Oceania, Middle East, South Africa, Russia, and things like that. If like the person who won the last one, I think was from Japan, they don't get any points. That for them, that's how they get into like their nationals and whatnot, and that's how they determine all that nonsense. But so it'll be the first place for TCPI regions will get the 170. The second place for those for regions will get the 160, and so on and so forth.
Yeah. I think another thing to change, like they did mention, I believe, I can't remember where in this article, we might come up on it at some point, that we are probably going to be getting more global challenges, and we might get other online events potentially in the future. Like, personally, it's not going to happen this year, or it probably won't happen this year. I would love to see something like Players' Cup return, like, to just give players who don't have the ability, or like whether it's due to money, proximity to events, so on and so forth, don't have the ability to go to a major to try to like win an event to get their invite. Having an online option, I think, would be really interesting, and just again like another way for players who maybe don't have the dollar amount and like the ability, like the financial flexibility to like go to a ton of events, a ton of majors, to try to get there.
I don't think we'll see Players' Cup again. Like that was to replace the fact that we had all these venues booked. We had all these personalities set up for all these regionals. We need to do something with them. And so here's what we're doing instead. That's the Players' Cup. The VGC Global Challenges are replacing the whole this is the Players' Cup, but it's also doesn't have to have the staff behind it to host it and things like that. It's just hey, we're going to use the ladder system that's based on the Switch and just run the event that way, and that's what we're going to do. Which I personally think it's easier for them to do multiples of these over the course of a season rather than it is for them to try and force 1 to 2 Players' Cups over the course of a season. That's what the regionals and whatnot are for.
Yeah,
that's what.
Before I move on from the global challenges, again, this is Angelo saying things that may or may not be true, but I think it will be. In the past generations, Pokemon has also used their global challenges or their global online ladder competitions to release shiny versions of legendaries that were shiny locked when they were released. In Gen 7, we saw this with the Tapus. In Gen 8, we saw it with the birds. I do think that, especially if we're getting more than just the 3 global challenges, that this is how we're going to be given the shiny versions of the Ruinous Quartet.
That honestly is very likely.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. We have those, and then we have the Ogerpon in that trio. We have the box legends that are shiny locked.
The box
mean,
legends
there's
will be in like some random GameStop event, probably.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, there's a ton of them that will like have potential to be released at some point.
We still need shiny
Yeah,
Spectrier and Glacier.
I was going to say that.
True. I forgot about those.
Yeah, the shiny Gen 8 DLC Pokemon, like the only new DLC mons from Gen 8 that were new legendaries from the DLC Gen 8 that were not shiny locked were Regieleki and Regidrago. So like we still don't have shiny, like again, Cubfruit, Urshifu. We still don't have shiny horses. We still don't have shiny Calyrex. That could be other way. Like this, like you could use this sort of event as a way to get people to participate by saying, "Hey, you're playing like 5 games or whatever it is. You get a free shiny mon that you've been waiting for. Here you go."
I mean,
And
I wouldn't put it past them. They're also looking at like making certain ways to like have rewards for people who just gather CP but don't make worlds. I wouldn't be surprised if something's tied to that.
yeah,
I would not be surprised at all.
and when we get to like the end, I'll give my thoughts on that. But let's move forward to the championship event, and this is where the shit show happens. Regionals, special events, and internationals all share the same best finish limit of 6.
I have a feeling this is going to change before too long. I have a feeling this is probably going to be 5-1 or 4-2.
Yeah, like as it currently stands right now, like me going through the points for these skyrocketed. Now, of course, if Carl, I'll let you get into your math in a few moments, but the reason why Carl's like, 950, it's because the points here are just absolutely disgusting. The 5th place finisher in IC is going to get 600 points.
That's almost double what you can get at a regional.
in the grand scheme of things, while 5th place is going to miss their auto invite, if they play their best finish limit of 6 events majors with points backed by that 600, you're probably safe regardless.
Yeah, I'm about to say I think like a top 8 finish at any international, and then hit your locals, like max out your locals, you are probably set for top 75 just playing in a couple regionals and placing top 32 in those. Like you don't have to do any more than that. That's why the best finish limit on internationals is likely going to change. They did put out a tweet after the whole announcement originally, like, "Hey, thanks for all your feedback. We've heard you. We're probably going to keep looking at some stuff and keep adjusting things." I would not be surprised if either before or right after Worlds, this is changed to regionals and specials as 5 and internationals as 1.
Yeah, it seems weird to have it worded like that, but okay.
Yeah, because like and like I hate using the term wallet warrior.
That's what it is, though.
But yeah, and that's the thing. It's like, as the way that this is currently set up, the people with the financial ability to go to all 3 internationals are able to just like blow out anyone who's like stuck with 4 or 5, like their 5 in region. By in region, I mean like NA or Europe, like of regionals and events, and then that specific area's IC.
Like you don't even have to day to the IC to have a decent amount of points from this event. Like 65 to 128 is worth 150 points at the IC.
Which, I mean, that's a lot.
That's a lot of like we just said, the first place of the global challenge is 170. Like the fact that you can not day to the IC and get 150 points is insane.
Yeah, this is and it's like as it stands right now, I know I believe it was Chef VGC brought up a point where he brought up points like, only 9 people from NA earned points at both EUIC and LAIC last year. And sure, like it is difficult to earn points in ICs in the grand scheme of things. At the other end of it, like there's a question of how many people went to one and not the other because they knew that they only need their 500 points.
Yeah,
And
like that's the thing. If you were only hitting a benchmark before, you had plenty of chances at regionals that were more local, more cost efficient. Now you are trying to be top X. You need every single CP you can get. Now it's going to be more effective to spend your money to go to these ICs and hit all 3 international championships, and then just pick up extra CP at 3 regionals and your locals and the global challenges. Your odds of hitting it will skyrocket by going to all 3 international championships.
Yeah, because like that's the other thing. Like, I mean, I know everyone's goal for this year was I want to get my invite before NAIC. I want to get my invite before NAIC. Like,
then
no
you
one
don't,
actually
you don't have to worry about it, right? Like that's the best part.
Like, I mean, last year I remember driving with Nishan, and we were all like, if they don't get one top 128, they're going to bubble by 20 points. And that's what ended up happening, and it was literally one of those soul-crushing things. Like, just to go 6-3 and be like, I gotta pray for resistance and lose my invite that way. And so, like, everyone's like, let's avoid it. If people are forced, and it's like that's part of the reason why we're saying, like, oh, only 9 people got those points, it's because they didn't need to. Or at least they knew that they didn't need to. When you know that you have to, because you gotta be full throttle up until like the end of your NAIC run, and that's that. Like, it's gonna mean like there's gonna be people with like some obnoxious points totals because they go to these ICs and they're going to have the advantage over the people who have the regionals.
Just a fun reference here for just letting. These numbers don't actually mean anything. It's just fun numbers to like kind of look at. So the minimum CP a player can earn, if let's say they hit their best finish limits and they made top 256 at all the regionals, and they went to one NAIC and they top 256 that one, and they hit the bare minimum on global challenges. So that number minus locals is only 480 CP. If you just went on a tear and won 2 IC or 1 or 2 or 3 ICs and just kept playing over and over trying to get that travel award, you could earn over 3,000 CP in the current system.
Yeah,
like that's insane. Like you shouldn't.
That's quite a bit. Yeah.
The current limit, like the highest number I think for the current season, I think was like 1,700 CP or something like that. The fact that you could almost double it in this new system because internationals are weighted so much is bonkers.
Yeah. And like this is, I think, one of the other things that I don't like about the change with the regionals. I was really hoping for results-based results-based for points, because the thing is, there's going to be people who finish 6-3 that are in the 129 to 256, depending on the size of the event. And that's 20 to 30 points that you're basing just on resistance. You got the same, and on the other end, you'll have, depending on the size of the event, you might have some 6-3 players fall into the 33 to 64 range. And again, it's like how much, like if you have, call it like player 64 is 6-3, and then player 129 is also 6-3. Like that's the same record for 40 points. Or God forbid you do it in the IC, it's literally it's over double the points.
Yeah,
that's where like that's the change I really wish that they went through with, where it was all X2 get the same, all X3, like all 6-3 get the same, like all X3 day 2 get the same, all X4 day 2 get the same.
That would have been a better system, in my opinion. But it also would have been harder for them to physically track and like maintain. It would benefit people. It would keep people probably playing throughout the day. Like, oh, I'm not making day 2, but I can still 6-3, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or
I do think that's
a bonus, right?
A change that should probably happen. Yeah,
that's a good thing.
That was something like this is something that Stefan Mott and I talked a lot about a month ago when we were at a local together, and that he was like it was like the only change I want to see if I have to pick one thing is results-based points, and for them to make a ton of changes and there to be no results-based points, that is like, again, like it's something that was missed. If it's something that they did add, it might have they still would have like TPC. I still would have gotten backlash because I don't, as the listeners can probably guess, in the grand scheme of things, these are, in my opinion, negative changes, and that would have been at least another positive that they could point to, and to miss the mark on getting that positive, that's it's not great.
I think if they had treated VGC and TCG the same, I think people would be less upset about it. The fact that TCG has 50 more invites compared to VGC is a little like snub the nose up at you, just like, oh, you're not TCG, you're not making us money, so you're
TCG,
going.
I would say TCG does get about twice the number of players, so I can see why, but at the same time, like, yeah, it's
like we
would
were
have liked some more
VGC spots. We're currently growing to get to those numbers. The reason we are limited, we're capped because they need equipment.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, they have equipment that they have to have for us to play, whereas TCG doesn't have that. TCG's, you set up a table and a chairs, you can do that infinitely in a location. You only have so many of the little switch docks for people. Like, unless you're gonna let them do it local up, it's just like let them just sit there, switch on the table or whatever. You're not gonna. That's the same situation. Then it's just like, oh, we only have so much equipment. We can only allow so many VGC players.
Yeah. Okay. Moving on from this, we go event names. Already talked about them.
We don't have to talk about booster packs and cash prizing.
I think the only thing to note with the cash prizing is that they said that, oh, it's not going to change, and then it's less. Regionals and IC prizing is lower than what it was. 50 grand for Worlds. Wow, that would pay for my wedding. Moving. wait. Never mind. Is that TCG? Oh, that's TCG. I'm playing the wrong game.
Oh yeah, 100%, right? Yeah. Like I said, there's a reason.
I know I told you and Jay the other day, I am going to try to go to Louisville. It may not happen. But if I do, and it's a double restricted format, I might just play TCG.
Let me know, Carter. I'll hitch a ride.
I love the fact that, okay, so Carter's playing NK games, and I love the fact that it is a pick your opponent's team, but at the same time, it's a week where you have to use the top 50 Pokemon currently, and Carter currently has to do his most hated thing, which is use good Pokemon.
That's not true.
It is 100% true.
Carter, it's okay. No,
Here's the thing: my opponent's gonna give me the 6 worst of those. So really, I'm still playing with bad Pokemon.
No,
okay.
Given the field, given the field of the pool is, I'm getting the bad Pokemon out of it.
You're getting what they think are the bad Pokemon. Who's your opponent?
That's a good question.
Look at that while we go through. Also, I know we're going through Pokemon Go prizes, just talking about videos. We got to talk with Anna Hoffman, one of the top Pokemon Go players in the world, on the Littleroot record. Go watch that.
They came out. Pokemon Go came out really far ahead. They get the travel awards now. They get 75 invites to Worlds. Like, they put Pokemon Go on the same par as VGC now. Like, they literally just picked up Pokemon Go. It's like, hey, you're going to be equal with VGC instead of, you're kind of just like, you're only getting so X many people in an event anyway. And so they're just like, oh, we'll just put you on the pedestal next to VGC now.
Yeah. So one of the only changes we want to dive into with International Championship travel prize updates, and this is the money that it makes, the 3,500 or so, that's the same. The main change is that specifically for VGC, so the top 8 get travel awards, spending in region, out of region, and then 9 through 16, along with the top 8, also get priority registration for international championships.
I was going to say, Angelo cut out there for half a second for me.
Yeah. I think priority registration was already a thing for 1st through 8th, so extending it through 9th through 16th is fine.
Yeah. And I think, again, not to say that like it is a thing where the people who spend money on the game and are going to these events to earn points to get the travel awards, like if you're getting a travel award to go to an event, you should be able to register for the event. So I don't think this is like, it's not something that's going to affect me probably, but it is something that is nice to see, that the players who are getting these travel awards, or at least like the players who are performing very well and are inputting their time into the game, that they're at least getting something out of it in terms of priority registration.
Yeah.
Um,
Notably, it's only for ICs. There's no
Yes.
information on anything about travel awards for Worlds yet of any kind.
Nope.
So this is strictly just the international championships. There's no anything for Worlds yet.
Moving on, this is the next major change.
This is the first good thing.
Yeah,
on
the
entire
adjustment.
thing.
The adjustment of how Swiss tournaments are ran. So this is specifically for specials, regionals, ICs, and worlds. TCG and the VGC tournaments will be played in a more conventional Swiss round count plus additional round rather than the modified Swiss that we've been using recently. Please note that Pokemon Go is still using their double elimination bracket format. Hopefully, once they get their player count up and they can actually hit a consistent
Number.
300-ish, they can start getting Swiss.
Yeah.
But until, and a part of that as well is just like they also need more phones.
Right. Again, it's an equipment based issue,
Yes.
where it's just like we only have so many phones. We can only acquire them so quickly. We can only use them so fast.
So the way Swiss works is so any tournament with 65 or more people, all X2 or better players move on to a day 2, and the day 2 and the number of day 2 rounds will change depending on the number of players. As of right now, we're pretty much playing, in most cases, 9 rounds of Swiss plus 5 to 6 rounds on day 2, then go into the top 8. Now what we're looking at, so for your average tournament, which I'd say your average VGC tournament right now would be in that 257 to 512 range, and like the 513 to 1024 range, you'd be playing in day 1 8 rounds. You need to go 6-2.
Yep.
And then you would either play in 2 to 3 day 2 like rounds on day 2 before top cut.
Yeah, we're not hitting the 1025, 2048 anytime soon, I don't think.
No, no. I love how they have, the 8100 numbers on here.
Well, that's also,
Like,
it's just like, that's just, they have to go out that far just because, like, when I went to Indy, there was over 2,050 TCG players.
Yeah, TCG will...
Like,
TCG,
they hit this second to last number at Indy.
TCG will consistently hit that 249. I wouldn't say consistently, but I'd say probably at least half the events, and definitely every single IC, you're going to be playing best of 3. You're going to be playing like the 9 rounds of Swiss into 4 rounds day 2. I also think what's interesting with that is the way TCG works. In TCG, you have like what you call like the intentional draws, the IDs, where a draw will get you 1 match point, and so sure you could so in this case now you would have to go start 6-0.
Yep.
And then you can start IDing at 6-0. But in a lot of cases, it's probably going to force TCG players to play to 7-2.
Yeah. Pokemon in general, they don't like intentional draws at all. They think it's awful. Because there's literally rules against it for VGC. Like, if they catch you intentionally drawing in VGC, you both get disqualified. They will kick you out of the tournament.
Wait, what?
Yeah, it is.
Seriously?
I did not know
that.
They do not like you intentional drawing. There will never be an intentional draw in VGC ever.
Yeah, like, and part of it, like the intentional draws, we just aren't going to play. I will say this, at the last event, the friendly I went to, I played a game 3 versus dear friend Keon, and in that game, what I mean, the two of us tried throwing as hard as we could. I'm pretty sure my 1.5-year-old nephews would have wiped the floor with both of us, and at the end, our TO Leaf asked who won, and I looked up and said, in the grand scheme of things, neither of us. Can we both get losses? And he said, you're playing the wrong game. TCG meets the next day.
But you can get double losses in VGC. That's a thing.
You can.
Yep. With the whole new system, but yeah, like hitting X and 2, being the cutoff is always a good thing. It'll mean that it'll be a clean, like, you know where you're going to be, you know how many people you're going to have, and it's so on and so forth. The top cut is also changing a little bit, right?
I love this change so much. So after all Swiss rounds are complete, the top 8 competitors will move into top cut as usual. The main change is the number of competitors with the same number of match points as 8th place, up to a maximum of 32 players, will also advance into an asymmetrical top cut single elimination format. So this means that anyone who finishes, actually, I will just quickly pull up Lab Mouse and we'll just use NAIC as an example of this. So we're looking at Lab Mouse. So we had Henry Rich at 12, well, technically 12-3, be 8th place. In this new change, not only would Henry Rich make top cut, but every other 12-3 player, so for this it would be through 14, Mark Jackson, would make top cut.
Yeah.
Which with the lower number of Swiss rounds would, in most cases, mean if you go X2 through day 1, day 2, you're going to make cut. With the top seeds who have more wins, they will probably get buys until they can get it into an even cut. Now, this isn't the first time Pokemon has introduced an asymmetrical cut. Pokemon has been doing asymmetrical cuts for Worlds for years at this point.
This is literally the Worlds format, just going to all events.
Yep.
Which, yeah, like you all said,
it should be
good. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
It was weird to me that Worlds had different formatting than everything else, but also at the same time, it's Worlds, so
yeah. I will point out that it's to a max of 32. They will cut it off at 32, so if you are the same record at 33, there is a world where it can happen. It's very, very rare. But
yeah,
I don't anticipate it happening, but if it does,
there
man,
are
it sucks to
scenarios.
be that guy.
Yeah, there are scenarios where it could happen. Usually it involves undefeated players at the top and people getting extra losses on the way down towards 8th. But there are scenarios where you can occasionally get that 33rd, 34th X and whatever that matches the 8th place, and those people will not be included, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But I think it's very rare.
And not only is it very rare, you would need to be in this 2049 or this, even this 4097. Like, you would need the tournament to be.
It's likely more to happen in TCG than it will happen in VGC.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Moving on to the at-home competitions, as we already talked about, more online tournaments are coming in the 25 season, giving players more opportunities to make progress towards their invite. They can look forward to more global challenges throughout the season.
I just think we're going to get one a month.
Yep, which would be great. And I think the other thing that would be really, really awesome, last year, I believe 2 out of the 3 global challenges were the same exact weekend as a special event or a regional. Actually, it might have been all 3 might have been like the same weekend as another in-person event. So the people who were at this in-person event also just flat out did not get a chance to play in this game, or they were complete psychopaths and played in both.
I would be very surprised if they were able to play in both.
Yeah. No, trust
on
me.
On hotel Wi-Fi, I'd be very surprised.
did not stop. I mean, Joe UX9 would try. I don't know if he succeeded, but he would try. And I know he's not the only one.
That's because Joe's a masochist?
Yeah.
No,
he played Groudon at the St. Jude event. Yeah. Yeah, I would define him as masochist.
Yeah. Again, regionals and special events, same exact thing. The Friday date is that on these for these events. It's literally just to check in. Sometimes they will have challenges, or well, now challenges or cups on the Friday for people to play in to get there early. They're really nice. I think the big thing with this is the schedule. We finally have the fall to winter 24 schedule. Specifically for our North American players, September 13th through 15th is the Baltimore Convention Center in Baltimore, Maryland.
I'm noticing a pattern. You keep talking. I'm going to keep looking at stuff.
Okay. October 11th to 13th, the Kentucky International Convention Center in Louisville. And then we have in Toronto at the Metro Toronto Convention Center from December 13th to December 15th. Similar to last season, North America takes a break during November, mostly because of all the holidays in November, Thanksgiving, so on and so forth.
Yep.
Oh, no, I missed it. We have San Francisco. I can't read. San Francisco, November 22nd to 24th at the Safe Credit Union Convention Center. So in North America, for September, October, November, December, we have one event a month. In Europe, we have, I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce half of the venue names, September 20th and 29th in Dortmund. We have September 28th and 29th as well in
That's
Brazil. So that is one of our South American events. We have Lille on October 19th. We have Gdansk on November 2nd. Buenos Aires, November 9th. Stuttgart, Germany, November 30th. And then we have Bogota, Colombia on December 7th. We also have our international schedule. This is super important that we not only do we have the locations, but we have the dates immediately. Last year we didn't get our international locations until mid-August. And then we didn't get I don't think we even got the date for NAIC until like March of this year.
Yeah, sounds right.
Yeah. LAIC is going to be November 15th to 17th. November 15th is my brother's birthday. November 16th it's my nephew's birthday. So I will be doing birthday things and watching on the phone. And that is going to be in Sao Paulo, Brazil. EUIC is returning to the Excel Center in London on February 21st. And as it was already announced at NAIC is returning to New Orleans at the Ernst N. Memorial Convention Center on June 13th to 15th.
Fun fact, you can't book flights yet.
Yes, you can't, because Carl and I already tried.
I tried. I was like, you cannot book U.S. flights yet for it, but you can definitely try. If your calendar goes out that far.
Now, talking through the Littleroot, the Littleroot staff going to events, Jay. So, Carl and Carter, Louisville, Jay, potentially Baltimore. Baltimore would be relatively easy for me to get to. Drive halfway to my not a little more than halfway to my parents. Stay the night, then do the rest. I'm getting married 6 days after Baltimore finishes, and
yeah, you'll be fine.
Oh, I already brought it up to Amanda, and so September 15th.
You gotta have a bachelor party, don't you?
That's going to be late July, and trust me, I already tried pulling that as well. September 15th, I'm going to see Pitbull, and if I miss that, Amanda will divorce me before we're married.
Can't divorce you if you're not married yet.
You haven't seen her. She'd find a way.
She'll find a way. She's a determined woman. I mean, in general, this is me personally as the East Coast bias boy. Louisville is such a if you love baseball and bourbon, which are two of my favorite things, Louisville is one of the most fun cities to be in the Midwest. It's a real city with a real airport, because I'm still not sold that Peoria's actually exists.
It doesn't.
It's a fever dream. So for them to have the fall Midwest regional in a real city, massive.
And you're a
upgrade.
stone's throw away from Indiana.
Yep.
You could literally hop across the river and you're in Indiana.
I'm curious how far it is to Louisville.
From here? I already know. It's 7.5 hours from Warrensburg, so it'd be 7 hours for you. And it's a straight shot too. That's the best part.
641.
There you go. See?
Yeah.
It's a straight shot.
And also, so for me, like while I wasn't able to go to NAIC this past year, I definitely plan on going to NAIC this year. I know that in general, for our listeners who are not going to be trying to really gun for their worlds, who feel disheartened that they aren't going to be in the top 75 or so, if you do have a regional within like realistic driving distance of you, the regionals and especially NAIC itself are just super super fun things to go to. Honestly, it's grown, especially your ICs have grown into more of like a massive Pokemon convention that a tournament is also taking place at.
Yeah.
Like when I was during day 2 of NAIC last year, I ended up while I was in line to get my picture with Pikachu, I ended up talking with a group of people. I asked them, "Oh, what game do you play?" And they're like, "Oh no, we don't play anything competitively. We just drove here. Like they drove like 3-4 hours because we just want to be at this Pokemon event." And they're doing so much more to make this like an all-encompassing event. While it's not proven, I have heard some talk from some people closer in the know that like TPCI and like the Pokemon companies long-term vision for Worlds, the reason why they're trying to cut back on the people who are like the number of people invited to Worlds, they want it to turn into like the yearly Pokemon convention that also features the absolute best of the best tournament play. But they want more stuff for your Joe Merricks of sorority who are just going there to cover Pokemon stuff, and like your Pokemon general Pokemon fans, then like you want like all of the competitors there. So while it does hurt the people who do take this game seriously and do really gun for it competitively, they are at least trying to make it a generally more open event and a more friendly event that even if you're not gunning for Worlds, you're going to have such an amazing time going to. So that is the end of it, and as they close out, the Play Pokemon program is committed to creating the best possible experience for Pokemon competitors and fans. They look forward to the 25 Championship Series season and working with our global community as the program continues to evolve for years to come. Many more exciting updates are in store for the Championship Series, including information on Unite, community-focused side event experiences, as well as the remaining 25 season regionals and special events. I think that for the remainder of the season, those just going by the past few years, we'll probably get the winter spring events for 2025 post Worlds. Whether that's usually probably like the week after Worlds.
Yeah, that sounds
which
about
they
right.
say here. Like, please expect to hear more after the 24 World Championships. Hopefully, we'll be getting events near us and near you for you all to meet us at. Like again, the thing that I think brings everyone together. Yes, it's a zero-sum game gunning for Worlds, gunning for this top 75 or a major win right now. But the backbone of Pokemon and of VGC is the community. It's the people who listen to this podcast. It's the people who you team build with, who you grow with and play this game that we all love with. And so if you do feel discouraged, please still support your local scene. Make friends. Be around the people who love this game as much as you do. If you have the ability to go to any of these events, I just highly, highly suggest it. The two of like the most fun trips I've done over the past 3 years has been going to a Pokemon event where I wasn't going to make Worlds that year, but I just wanted to go, and they were just amazing trips. And yeah, that is
That's the thing.
Those are all the updates.
That's all we got.
Carter, who's your opponent?
Oh yeah, I got distracted by one of the chats in there.
Oh my goodness.
I have details for you all later.
I'm gonna say Carter's an admin now.
Yeah, I got added to the admin group for some reason. It's like I made a good impression on someone.
So I was goofing around with my spreadsheet here. If you did average across, if they don't change the BFLs for ICs to a reasonable number, and you go to all three, The number you're looking at on average is like 1100 CP. It's insane.
That's so much.
Like if they change the BFL, which they should, to like 1 and force people to go earn their stuff through regionals outside of that, 950 should be the reasonable number to hit. 1100 is a lot. But yeah,
I gotta figure out which group I'm in.
oh god,
The Inkay one, not the Malamar one.
obviously.
No, there's multiple groups inside of it for.
I know it's not the Unova one because I looked at the roster thing for that one because that one came across my timelining. Like Carter's not in that one.
Yeah.
That's not me. There's me. This is week 3. I am playing John Duran. That's the best I got.
I have no idea who that is.
I think like a Johan Duran. There's like a Duran who plays for the Boston Red Sox.
It's probably not them.
Well, so
You never.
So like
know.
there's a Garrett Wilson who plays Pokemon that's not the wide receiver. And then there's also a guy who's like Damian Lillard VGC on Limitless. And like in the back of my head, I think it's the actual Dame Lillard, like, you know, just miserable because he has to play baseball for Glenn Rivers, basketball for Glenn Rivers. And he's just like, I'm going to be angry at my fucking team and play Pokemon. Don't give me that look, Carter.
Give him all the looks. Do it.
I got nothing.
Okay. So,
I think overall the they could have done some better things.
Yeah. I think, like, if I had to guess, maybe we get the points threshold back next year and it's just, like, obnoxiously high. And they're just trying to use the top 75 threshold to figure out, like, the top 75 this year.
Just to figure out what the
where they
number should be.
Yeah. Because, like, just, again, looking at it, so in...
I did the math for them. I literally have it right here. Make the number 7,800 for VGC, and that'll reduce your VGC numbers because they obviously don't want VGC at Worlds anyway.
Yeah. Like, in general, like, the big thing, as Carl was saying, we had about 108 players make Worlds in 23 at the 300-point threshold. So they went up to 500 and thinking, okay, adding 200 points, 100 more than it used to be at 400, that should definitely call it. And at the highest threshold it's ever been, at 500 points, they get 211 people to qualify from NA, which is like almost double like the highest number it's ever been. That number almost triples some of the qualifying numbers from like 2017, 2018. So, like, if they couldn't figure out the math of the points threshold, they were like, and they want to have only, call it, 90-ish people qualify from NA, then they're going to literally force it so it's only that many. And that's the thing that sucks. And maybe it changes for the following season. But, like, on the other side of things, like, some of the slight positives, the regional rework for Top Cut and Day 2 is really welcome. More global challenges is always more welcome as well. And we actually got some communication for the locations and dates of the internationals well before we did last year, which is always, it's always nice to know when these events are going to be so you can actually, like, plan for them.
Yeah.
Any other comments?
I got nothing.
I'm all tapped out.
Okay, I am going to try to land this plane because Jay's not here.
Good luck.
Listeners, Listeners, thank you very much for joining in and tuning in with us and listening to us talk about all of the changes that you can expect to see in the 2025 championship season. You can follow us on Twitter at Edler Lessons. You can always find us on YouTube and on all podcatchers such as Spotify and Apple Music, where you can find this podcast every Monday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. If you're on the YouTube page, make sure to like and subscribe, give us a comment, give us those 5-star ratings on all podcatchers, and if you can, leave a comment there as well. While you're on the YouTube page, also look at some of our other amazing videos that come out through the week. Carl put together, I think, the best thumbnail for any of our videos.
Yeah, 100%. I cannot.
For Jay's last UDL season.
I've been saving that one for like 3 weeks.
Also, like, if you are not following Jay's title defense,
he's currently
UDL this
undefeated
season,
still.
he is like, and it's like,
it's awesome.
It's not even like he's been challenged. It's a god amongst mortals at this point.
Like
Jay
they're gonna have to kick him out to have somebody else do something.
They're going to have to make a new. They're literally going to make like when Mega Rayquaza came out and they had to make like the tier above.
The anything goes is going to be the J tier.
That's
pretty
literally
much
what it's going to be. This outro already got sidelined, but Jay's not here, and we have to just remind you guys how talented he is. Also, we have My Littleroot Record every Wednesday, where I talk to my friends about Pokemon, because all my friends are cracked at this game. Carter just released an unbelievable scripted episode, his second part of his Genlog. Also, every Saturday, we'll be chronicling his run through the Inkay games, which he somehow is now in charge of.
I'm not in charge.
I mean,
I am just an admin.
Charge.
There is a difference.
Next step up, right?
That's the next step. Bruno's going to be like, here, buddy, you do it.
Bruno is not in charge of it.
No.
Bruno's not in charge?
No.
Who's in charge?
It is Alex?
I think so.
Still, close enough. Close enough. What else do we have? If you want to support us with all of our videos, please support us on our Patreon, just like Johnny Bravo Sr., Papa Swish, or you can be an unbelievable Discord supporter, just like Smeargle is. And with that wraps up everything. Carl, thank you for being back. We always miss you on the pod. I'm sure the listeners are just happy to see like your face next to Carter's.
Y'all remember when we were getting comments of, we need to see Carl. Where's Carl? What happened to Carl?
Yeah, and like
this podcast has gone downhill without Carl.
The numbers say, no offense, the numbers say otherwise. Carl tells us the numbers say
I'm
otherwise.
about to say, the numbers say otherwise, y'all.
It's it's cute as shit. Does Dragon have anything else to say?
Nope. He's just my cuddle buddy.
Nah.
The son of a bitch is huge.
You ain't wrong.
No, that's massive.
Go check your targets. That's the only place we can find him is Target.
I was there yesterday. They only had Teddy Ursa.
Target has Giant Meryl and Giant Dragonite, and they have this.
I want the Meryl.
They have a 16-inch Clefairy.
Oh, they had not a Squishmallow, but they had like a giant-ish Mimikyu, and I
have
picked
that
it up. Yeah, I picked up, and Amanda said, "Absolutely not, put it down."
You need to go find yourself a new woman.
No,
I
love her.
My wife hates my addiction to Pokemon, and she let me buy it.
Well, no, it's because she said that, like, because I have, like, the Eevee, all 3 starters, the Pikachu, and the Jigglypuff in the family room taking up the couch for the sleeping bonds, and she's like, there's no more space. She's like, if we get
That's a personal problem, Amanda.
That sounds like you just need to buy
You're the one who has the problem with it.
If we get a house, I will be even more obnoxious with it.
Tiff said the other day she wants the back of our couch to be lined with Pokemon Squishmallows. She's like, that might be a fever dream, and it might be a little much, but I want that to happen. I said, okay.
I was about to say, I don't have a problem. Clearly, I don't have a problem.
I'd show my my bookshelf, but I don't want to fight with.
I took down, like, these all used to be sitting behind my TV on the desk, and I took all of them down when I put the aquarium over here. And so now they're just chilling all over the office, and they're everywhere.
This outro has really gotten away from me.
Yeah, no, we're gone. Are we saying goodbye? Are we waving goodbye now?
I've been waiting on you for like, how long have we been going?
Carl was talking.
I was talking. I don't get to be on here.
Yeah, I like Carl though. That's the difference.
Okay. Bye, everyone.